in a small enterprise, unfortunately, one has not seen many such things that are happening. The reality of the situation is कि boss ने झाड़ा नहीं
is an
appreciation. He didn't criticize, he didn't scold, itself becomes an appreciation. Very rarely you will see कि oh okay बहुत अच्छा काम किया, चलो आधा दिन छुट्टी ले लो. These HR practices, if I can call them, do not exist because normally in a corporate world you will say reward and recognition need not always be monetary. There will be non-monetary kind of thing. In small enterprise, what matters is monetary. And the business always need not, because the owner thinks ki, I've hired these people, they've done what their job is.
Hello, Namaste, I'm Anand and I welcome all of you at deAsra Foundation and this series dreamBIG. We are talking to different experts in the field of HR and today is his second episode for HR. We are talking to Advait Kurlekar and today's topic is build, delegate and grow. So we'll be talking about team management essentials for entrepreneurs and it's pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Anand, and thanks deAsra for having me here.
So your experience in the field of management has been very vast and for last 30 years you've been working in this field for strategy, for planning, marketing as well as HR. So while we actually apply all of this knowledge to nano entrepreneurs and we are talking about building teams.
Yeah.
Right, it's very interesting how nano enterprises or small businesses build teams.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on these small businesses building teams?
See, whenever we want to apply management principles for nano entrepreneurship, or better word is small businesses, we have to think differently. Team building in a large corporate versus team building for a small business person who perhaps would have not more than maybe 8, 10, 12, 15 people, employees. That's on the higher side. But I think the average of deAsra members would be maybe 3 or 4 employees kind of thing. And then the entire concept of team building has to be looked very, very differently. Because in a small business kind of setup, there is no organization structure to have a team building kind of thing.
Right.
If I'm an owner, I don't want to call founder because founder is used for startups. If I'm an owner, entrepreneur, nano entrepreneur, micro entrepreneur, what you want to call him or her, if I have 4, 5, even 10 people, all of them would directly report to me.
Right.
And therefore the team building onus and responsibility lies with the owner and not with anybody else. Right. I will never have a HR person as long as I just have 8, 10, 12 people.
Yeah. So the business owner is doing a lot of things by himself or herself.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of juggling. So as a business grows, while that person is selling, while that person is actually maybe the main skill set, whatever that business owner is doing, everything he is doing by himself or herself.
Sure.
So it's a crazy,
absolutely,
crazy time.
Yeah.
So managing team and all these management principles, do they really apply to these businesses and what is different?
Management principles apply because at the end of the day, we can't forget that that entrepreneur is running his or her own business. And when it's business, management principles apply. But it can't be cut, copy, paste from what we normally do in a corporate world. So when I do work with my clients which are corporate, I can't use the same principles if at all I have to work with any of these kind of things. I have to consider the human aspect much more. It becomes much more important for these kind of things, whereas in corporate the process aspect becomes more important.
Right.
It is difficult to have processes in a small kind of enterprise. Let's call it an enterprise, that's right. A better word,
yeah.
Rather than a corporate.
Yeah.
And therefore the human aspect, because if there is no process, there has to be human. Because normally in corporate you say that, okay, can we make this people independent? Right. Can we institutionalize this process?
Right.
Those things don't apply in a small enterprise.
Yes.
The institutionalization starts and ends with the owner.
Yeah.
So that is the big difference.
And in the first episode, we also spoke about this, that it starts with a story. Every business, every small enterprise has its own story.
Absolutely.
And as the person starts growing his or her business, and now there are 2, 3, probably 4 people that he or she has hired.
Sure.
It's a matter of delegation. So, he or she was doing everything by himself or herself, and I have to delegate. So, what is the usual struggle when he or she is delegating?
The normal struggle is that when we say delegate, delegation does not mean abdication. That is the normal struggle, but that is in a corporate world.
Right.
Here, the delegation very rarely happens because it is a small enterprise, and therefore, as a owner, I am well in control of all aspects of the business.
Right.
Well in control. I may not be well skilled on all aspects of the business.
Right.
Yeah, if I am in a creative field, like we are sitting in a studio now, so if I am running a studio and I have maybe 5 employees kind of thing, I have started this studio because I come from that creative background. Maybe I am great in photography, camera, audio, video, whatever kind of thing. But I may not have the management skills if I have to scale up this business. One, I have to accept that I am not a jack of all trades and master of everything. I come with 1 or 2 specific skill sets, and that happens in corporate world also. But so I come with that specific skill sets. But that does not mean that my employees are my helpers, my assistants. I will not have professional people. I mean, I might have again, just to continue this example, I might have a professional editor. But there is no delegation because I don't know editing. That's why I have hired this person full-time, part-time, whatever kind of thing. So delegation does not necessarily happen here, and delegation does not necessarily mean abdication of my own roles and responsibilities. At the end of the day, किधर से भी देखो ये मेरा धंधा है.
बिल्कुल.
And I have to be I'm the trustee of that business.
बिल्कुल.
In a way, and therefore I have to ensure the growth and the sustainability of that business.
तो उसमें trust build करना भी है. You have to build that trust, have that trust, and also build that relationship. That
Let me take a shopkeeper example.
Okay.
It is very difficult for me, a typical, let's say I'm a kirana kind of dukan, okay? Normally I'll open at 6:30 in the morning and I'll close at 11. It is impossible for me to be there throughout all 6 or now in today's times all 7 days of a week.
Right.
Yeah, gone are the days where Somwari Band and that kind of thing happens now because laws have changed and business has changed. Which means I need to delegate. Now what am I delegating? I'm delegating trust. Even if I'm not there, and okay, now I can put a security camera, etc., etc. But in spite of that security camera, I'm delegating trust. Galle pe somebody else is going to sit, and he's not going to do chori, etc., etc. So my trusted lieutenant is the first person I'm going to delegate this. I'm not abdicating. I'm just delegating that trust.
Right.
Which means then I have to ensure that it is business as usual even when I am not there.
Right.
And in today's times, if there is a wedding in the family, or if I have to go for some vacation, or unfortunately there's a death in the family and I'm away from my business, I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Because I have delegated trust, like you rightly said. Trust is the first thing you delegate.
Absolutely. And in some scenarios I have seen while working with entrepreneurs in the transformation process also, while I work with these entrepreneurs, sometimes there are some sort of struggles that I delegate, but that person is not as perfect that I'm expecting. So there is a challenge in setting up those expectations, or at times there are some performance related issues. Sometimes there is instability in completing these activities.
Yeah.
So how should an entrepreneur handle these situations?
See, the first thing that we have to this thing, and maybe it won't not a popular opinion, but delegation comes with compromise. I can't create clones of myself.
Yeah.
Correct. So with the moment I'm delegating trust, or delegating even a task or a work, the compromise is that person need not necessarily do the same thing if I were to do. I will always think that I would have done it better, I will have done it faster, I will have done it in lesser cost, blah, blah, blah. But that delegation comes with compromise. As long as you accept this, okay, now there are different tolerance levels up to which you can accept that compromise. But as long as you accept that compromise, delegation will be smooth.
Right. And in scenarios, I've also seen that there are number of tasks that an entrepreneur actually starts delegating, and it almost feels like dumping these tasks versus delegating effectively.
Yeah.
So how to delegate effectively?
One is the entire thing starts with clarity in communication. And that clarity in communication starts with clarity in thought. As an entrepreneur, am I very, very clear what is it that and that thought process starts with acceptance of my own weaknesses. Going back to that example, that I might be great camera work or I might be a great editor or whatever, which means I can't do this. Which I need to have higher professionals or somebody, call it assistant, helper, professional, but I'm delegating that task. So that's the first acceptance. The second thing is, once I have that clarity in thought, that has to lead into clarity in communication.
Right.
I need to be very, very effective in terms of communicating that what is it that I'm expecting when I'm delegating this task to you. As my employee, as my partner, as even a vendor, outside vendor. That clarity has to come. So communication is most important.
Right.
And communication does not mean I told you so. Communication means to ensure that whatever is your thought process, has it come in your communication, the way you want it to be, and to ensure that the other person has understood exactly the way you wanted that person to understand.
Right. Right.
Communication can't be like in today's email thing, putting it in CC.
Right.
I had marked you on CC, so you should know. It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
And anyway, we are talking of a small scale kind of thing, not more than 8-10 people. So how difficult it is for you to talk to people and communicate kind of.
Yeah. So we also have to remember in this today's time that although we have all of these technology devices, talking to people is absolutely equally important.
A lot of people ask me this question, which is a good framework, which is a good tool. And I say talking is the best tool.
Amazing.
See, because even you take a large company, say a TCS, which has I think 6 lakh, or I don't know what the number is, but 6 lakh, 7 lakh employees. But at the end of the day, if I'm a manager, if I'm a team leader, I'm not having 6 lakh people under me. At best, I'll have 8-10 people under me. So I'm still an entrepreneur running a small enterprise with me and my team. And for that, because I'm TCS or because I'm a large corporate, there'll be tools available. There'll be Teams and there'll be this and that, etc., Slack or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for small entrepreneurs, do you really need this? I mean, for me, communication, direct face-to-face, one-on-one is the best tool, best framework.
Amazing. And that really helps in understanding the other person, your team member.
Correct.
The way he or she is working, some challenges that he or she is having, and helping that team member also learn.
Correct. Because communication is language, but also important is body language.
Yeah.
But perhaps body language is more important than the actual language.
Yeah.
And unless you talk in front, face to face, or in today's times, it may not be applicable for our kind of people, which are small enterprise where there is no remote working, work from home, etc., etc. But I'm sure you've also experienced that, when you have these Teams call, etc., etc., most people keep their video off.
Absolutely.
Network issue hai, ye hai, wo hai, that kind of thing. Then you lose the body language part of it.
Yeah.
You don't know how the other person is reacting. Is that person understanding what you're trying to say? Is he realizing the importance of what you're trying to say? So if it is face-to-face communication, which is for me is the best tool, then the language and the body language, not just for you, for the other person also, the receiver also is important. Because communication is always two-way. I can speak to you or I can address you.
Yes.
Most leaders want to always address. Very few people want to speak. I think speaking is better than addressing.
And that really brings in the engagement from the other side. Sometimes there are questions related to which tasks should I actually delegate and which should I not. So which tasks really need direct attention for this enterprise owner? What is your view?
See, there is this, I think it's called Eisenhower's matrix or something like that, importance and urgency. So if you plot whatever you want to do in terms of high, medium, low and high, medium, low in terms of importance and urgency, it will very, very clear in terms of what you can actually delegate. Anything that is obviously non-urgent and non-important is the first kind of thing which you can delegate. Because you can, it's a low risk kind of thing. It's neither important nor urgent. Does it require to be done? Yes, it's required to be done. Somebody has to do the dirty work kind of thing. So these are the first things kind of thing. The second part, then the other 3 quadrants is where the trust factor comes in. that if you believe that in your team somebody will do it as if it's their task and do it the right way because it is important, not urgent, important. So the trust part comes when the important part is coming. A workhorse, he will not ask any questions, will do what has been told to do because it is urgent. You know, we are in Pune and, you know, we always say Pune people, lot of things get delayed because everybody is an intellectual. You don't need intellectuals every time. So if you need a workhorse, no questions asked. I'm telling you do this right now, here and now, that person will do. The delegation of such activities or such tasks has to be given to that kind of person who will not ask questions. करने का है, 4 बजे के पहले करना है, it is important, I will get it done.
Right.
Later on I can ask you why, where, when, how, etc., etc. But right now the task is to be, it's like the army, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Soldier doesn't ask why.
Yeah.
He just follows the orders given by his boss.
Yes.
You need those kind of people also. You need people who will think, contemplate, etc., etc., and do very, very important tasks, but they are not get riddled by a deadline. I mean, eventually there will be a deadline because you need to complete that task. But it's not that here and now, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, today, yesterday, that kind of thing. But it is a very important activity, and therefore you will entrust that important activity with somebody you trust.
Yeah.
You will entrust a very urgent activity to a workhorse.
Right.
And then everything else, very important, very urgent, you should do yourself. At the end of the day, like I said, you are a trustee of your own business.
Yes.
Therefore, you should keep it yourself. And the fourth quadrant, less important, less kind of urgent, you delegate to anybody you can do.
Right.
So
Great.
if you use that kind of framework, that's one management principle which can easily be applied to even a small enterprise.
Absolutely. So it's like certain first principles in the management processes are absolutely applicable, and one has to be mindful about adapting to these frameworks and utilizing it in your small enterprise. So many a times this process of hiring begins for an entrepreneur at some stage. So he or she is doing things by oneself and things are happening. But there comes a point where there is too much workload and now I have to hire my first team member.
Yeah.
Right. So how should this enterprise owner think at that point?
So it goes back to what is the first thing that it is okay for me not to do as a owner. That has to be your first employee. If I think that, okay, account is something which I need not do, or acceptance that I'm not very good at, then I will need that kind of person first. And unlike a startup where you say that your first employee has to be as passionate about what problem you are trying to solve, etc., etc., here it is simple, straightforward. I'm running a business. I'm running a small business and you are an employee. Right now I may not have a vision, I may not have a pitch deck, or those kind of management principles from a startup world don't apply here.
And Advait, it's interesting that you actually brought this out, but not having a vision to begin with is okay.
Is okay, yeah. Or having a limited vision that I'm starting this enterprise, in 3 years I want to achieve 1 crore turnover. That's fine.
Yeah.
1 crore is a big number.
Yeah.
So everybody need not be a billionaire and 100 crores and 1 billion kind of thing. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
So from a startup world, again, we call it a lifestyle business. Most of these small enterprises are lifestyle businesses.
Yes.
You need not be innovative in everything. It is BAU, business as usual kind of thing. I'm one among many, which is also fine.
Yes. And you start building that team. You have that first person, he or she starts doing things. What are those 2-3 important things that I should look for when I grow my team? What are those characteristics that I should look for?
Frankly, there may not be a one size fits all answer here. It depends on what business you are running, what stage of the business you are running, and what kind of person you are you are looking for as your first employee, as an example. Like going back to my own example, if I take that forward, that if I'm looking at an accountant kind of person and I'm running a small manufacturing kind of thing, then obviously first thing I will look into is the relevancy of that experience. Yeah, I don't want, and it's very difficult to get those people also, I don't want somebody who's working in a large organization where everything is ready. That's the first mistake we say, that if I get hire a person from a large company, he or she will come and set up things here. Now, unfortunately, what happens that person might be working for 3, 4, 5 years in a larger company than what you are, or a larger enterprise than what you are. But that person has never set up things there, because even before that person joined there, things were already set up.
Right.
And our expectation is he will come or she will come and set up things here. And when that person comes here, he is fish out of water, that I don't know what to do now. Because there's nothing here. Today if you ask, I'm just taking an example, today if you ask Sachin Tendulkar, कि वो रास्ते पे खेलो with 3 काठी या stumps etc., no pads, no helmet etc., it's going to be very difficult for him. Today IPL players it's very difficult for them to go back to their even 1 year ago, 2 year ago lifestyle. I'm not talking of lifestyle as in lifestyle, the cricketing lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because one quickly gets used to things. So have somebody, if you want to person to set up things for you, be very clear that does that person have experience in setting up things, not using things.
Yeah.
Please set up a policy manual for me, accounting policy, HR policy, or how things work here in my organization. If I'm a small manufacturer with 10 people, I have a couple of vendors, and if I want a purchasing policy or a vendor policy, or how things material will move from my vendor to me and me to my customer, have somebody, and you need that person, supply chain person or whatever, have a person who has experience in setting these things up, not using things. अरे मेरे पुराने कंपनी में ऐसा होता था, that's fine, but यहाँ क्या है?
बिल्कुल.
That is very important.
और उसमें you can actually have that element of documentation, a little bit of documentation that is going to start supporting, creating these processes.
But keep it simple.
Keeping it simple is the key.
Documentation is important, but keeping it simple is also important.
Yes.
Because we should be very clear, why is this documentation?
Yes.
For whom is this documentation for?
Yes.
It is for people who are going to use these kind of things.
Yes.
If they don't understand and they read and say, "Arey, samajh nahi aa raha hai, jaane do," then the documentation has no use.
Bilkul. And I have also seen sometimes that, you start documenting at times, responsibilities are given, you create Excel sheets, and the team is starting to function now. But at the same time, there is somewhere pointing fingers when it comes to responsibilities. कि team छोटा ही है, 6-8 लोगों का है, and they start pointing fingers and it was your responsibility, it was on your name, why did you not do? I am not going to do it.
Correct.
Right. So how to handle that situation?
Which I go back to that clarity in communication part of it. That as a owner, what am I expecting from you? This is your responsibility. And with that responsibility, there is one more term, which is again a management thing called accountability. Sometimes accountability and responsibility can be with different people. But in small teams, largely it will be with the same person. In a larger teams, I am responsible for doing this, but if I report to you, you are accountable for the same activity which I am responsible for. In a small team, responsibility and accountability should be clubbed together, because you can't have, like I said, even if I have 10 people, all of them will report to me as a owner. I will not have a manager and तुम 4 लोग इसको report करो, तुम 4 लोग इसको report करो, and these 2 people will report to me. I have not yet reached that size and scale where I will have a 3-layer organization structure. I will always have a 2-layer organization structure, me and everybody else. And therefore, having that clarity in terms of exactly whose responsibility and accountability is, can somebody be asked in terms of a consulted kind of thing, and somebody needs to get informed. If that, what again, second management principle perhaps can be used, which is the RASI framework. If that is there, written, unwritten, but if it is written in very simple language, that would help.
So, Advait, we spoke about, how to handle the team and multiple responsibilities, but sometimes people get overwhelmed when one person is given multiple responsibilities. We spoke about the conflict.
Correct.
And pointing fingers.
Correct.
But at times one has to do many things.
Yeah.
So, how to handle that situation?
So there are a couple of things here. One is, if as an owner I have identified that who will suit what kind of role, then horses for courses kind of thing. So I have assigned specific tasks based on my own understanding of that person's strength, capability, ability, readiness, etc., etc. 2 is, as the workload increases, as long as that communication lines are open, people also understand कि अरे धंधा बढ़ रहा है. We really have the same number of people, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever kind of thing. And to that extent, because dhanda badh raha hai, I am looking at it as my own growth as an employee also. I am ready to take more responsibility. So that readiness has to come, and that has to get checked. The third unfortunate reality, not just in small enterprises but everywhere in corporate also, that normally high performers get penalized.
Yeah.
कि तुम अच्छा काम कर रहे हो ना तो टेक मोर वर्क.
Yeah.
Oh, you've met your targets, take more target.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that should not happen because that's where more than overwhelming frustration comes in.
Yes.
That frustration and then anger with others.
Yes.
Because other people saying कि अरे ये शेठ का apple of the eye है.
Yes.
He is the favorite person.
Favoritism.
Favoritism आ जाएगा. That kind of populism आ जाएगा. Then that person also start doing something to suit the owners kind of thing.
Yeah.
That unfortunate culture will start creeping in.
Right.
So while you want work done, and like we previously discussed, that if there is something important, you'll interested with somebody you trust for that. If something is urgent, you'll interested with some workhorse, etc., etc. That should not mean the same 2-3 people again and again. And if I really can't kind of think, see, this is not a corporate world, so it is easy for me or relatively easier for me to ask the person to go.
Right.
Because in a way it is an informal kind of engagement.
Yes.
Then in a small kind of thing, I can't imagine to have a salary slip and a basic DA, HRA and all that part kind of thing.
Right.
It's a consolidated salary, take it or leave it kind of thing.
Right.
So if I'm really unhappy with somebody, it becomes easier for me to ask that person to leave.
Yeah.
Because anyway, I'm not giving any additional responsibility. He or she might be doing the routine tasks very well, like we see meets expectations kind of thing, 3 out of 5 kind of thing. But that's fine. But if I can't give additional responsibility, because every time I want to, झिझक जाता हूँ मैं कि नहीं वो नहीं कर पाएगा या कर पाएगी, then there is something wrong.
Right. Right.
It is like, I'm wearing this shirt here. Today when I decided to wear this shirt, if I said, नहीं, आज नहीं, I don't like this shirt. So I keep it at the bottom of the pile. Next time it comes top of the pile, I'll say, नहीं, आज नहीं. Which means I'm never going to wear that shirt.
Correct.
I'd rather give it to somebody while it is still good.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And in this situation, I feel with a micro enterprise, it is about the fit. That वो उस job में fit नहीं हो रहा है, and it is okay. He might, that employee might find a job somewhere, or in some other place he might do good.
See, it may not sound the way it is supposed to sound, but to put it very bluntly, it is a demand-supply situation. Even that employee has accepted to work here because unfortunately he or she may not have found a better, quote-unquote, a better employment. So, ride with it as long as it lasts. The moment somebody finds a better employment, and better need not always be in terms of money, better in terms of job, content, better in terms of growth, better in terms of how you are and how you treat, or the culture, or the work environment. Very basic level, why do employees continue? As long as they like the work, as long as they like the people they are working with, and as long as they like the people they are working for.
Right.
3 things are important. As long as this is there, I think the employment will continue.
Great.
It will not be कि और कहीं नौकरी नहीं मिल रही है तो that's why I'm here. That might be there. Out of your 10 people, maybe 1 or 2 people are there. But unfortunately, that's life for them and for you. So as long as, like I said, that person who can't go anywhere because he can't find a job anywhere is your 3 out of 5, which is meets expectations in a normal corporate world, you can continue because there's nothing wrong with that person.
Right.
You have told that person to assign some task to him. There is a job description kind of thing, and he or she is, you are happy or you're not greatly happy, you're not dissatisfied, okay hai, kind of thing. So that's fine.
Right. I have to take an example of a frustrated, small business owner.
Okay.
और ये जो बिजनेस ओनर फ्रस्ट्रेट क्यों हुआ है, क्योंकि जब वो माइक्रो मैनेज करता है तो ही और शी हैज टू लुक इनटू थिंग्स all the time.
Yeah.
Micromanagement.
Correct.
So how do you balance micromanagement and accountability?
Again, I'm going to say something which is not very the woke way or right way kind of thing. Micromanagement is something that happens even in large corporates. See, at the end of the day, even in corporates, there are very few corporates who are truly professionally owned and managed. 99% of Indian large businesses, when you say Tata, Birla, Reliance, all these are family owned and managed, which means there will always be a boss. And then therefore, you will have to work according to your boss's wish. In this case, in a small enterprise, your boss is the owner. So if the owner keeps on micromanaging because he or she is not liking how you are doing it, And like we discussed earlier, that compromise thing is not in that mind, it will get managed. And the people who work in such organizations or such enterprises, small enterprises, are very clear in terms of how things will happen here. They don't come with any great ambitions in terms of autonomy, delegation, independence of thought. They don't come with that expectation. So they are okay. And therefore micromanaging, if it happens, now is it good or bad? That's a different thing. Again, it's a question in terms of you are not developing your own clones, you have to compromise, and therefore you have to let go up to a certain point in time. Like we discussed earlier, there has to be, everybody will have a different threshold. I might be very short-tempered and I might have a very low sense of tolerance. You might have a slightly more sense of tolerance.
Yeah.
So, if something happens with my colleague or whatever, even a short thing, I will flare up, etc., etc. You might have a better sense of kind of thing. But the person needs to identify what kind of boss, what kind of owner I have.
Yeah.
And therefore not, in a way, complain about micromanaging. Micromanaging is not good, but sometimes it is necessary when things need to get done and the owner believes, rightly or wrongly, that things are not getting done.
Right. And finally, the owner also has to find a balance about how do I micromanage.
Correct.
And what is the healthy way of micromanaging for myself.
See, normally what happens is that I go back to this studio example. If I'm a great cameraman or a great editor, and as my business grows, I need an assistant cameraman or I need an assistant editor. That means in the same field. Now that means I have to now quote unquote tolerate somebody who also comes from the same field. It's not the accounting example where I don't know, therefore tum jo kar rahe ho theek hai bhai. Now there the micromanagement will happen more than me as an owner micromanaging an accountant. Because anyway acceptance is कि मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आता है वो accounting tally valley. तुमको आता है, please do it and ensure that books are in order, or let's cook the books together, kind of thing. But if my employee is in my same field, the probability that I will micromanage, because I'm the owner, in all probability I'm going to be senior, so I'm going to have more experience. So when you were still in your diapers, I started doing this,
right?
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So wo ho jayega. Now I may not be adapt to the latest technology that has come in my field, because मुझे वो सब पढ़ के, even if I'm sort of qualified in that field, it might have happened 15-20 years ago. This young kid has just passed out of a college in my same field, maybe my same college also, for all you know. But he comes with that new skill, new technology, etc., etc.
Yes.
Micromanage, generational gap, all that will happen.
Right.
And that happens especially when, as a business owner, my own second generation starts coming in.
Yes.
Because I may not have had the opportunity, for family circumstances, I've had to leave. Maybe I left, joined engineering college and had to leave in the second year and start this.
Yeah.
Because father passed away or some family issue, etc., etc. But my dream for my kid is, you become an engineer, I have a manufacturing unit, please join me. Now he's a well qualified engineer, maybe he's worked for a couple of years in some other manufacturing company, maybe I've only set up a job for him with my friend, etc., etc. And now my son or daughter joins. That's where the clashes start.
Yeah.
Because I am and him or her are in the same field.
Yeah.
Then the micromanagement start, and then the generation issue, same family, father, son, daughter, father, whatever kind of thing, father or the man and the nephew, niece, whatever, basically family, those issues start.
Yes. In such scenarios, I always feel that you have to actually combine what both of these individuals have and complement.
Yeah.
And two generations, in fact, can do double wonders. Two generations together, but how do you oil it, how do you align it, is a very crucial issue.
To make give a political analogy, that double engine always doesn't work. Yeah, because how many times you and me have seen that second generation comes in the business and things go the wrong way.
Right.
And then more often than not, the second generation then quits that business and starts something on his own. Not that he doesn't like that business, etc., but already I'm staying with my father and now 24 hours I can't handle, kind of thing. Yeah. Unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Yeah. So we entered this area of conflict, competition, and a very crucial area. So the owner is also handling conflicts between two team members at times. Ego issues,
Always will
clashes.
happen.
इसने ये किया नहीं किया वो किया, or I want to also prove myself at times. That employee wants to prove himself or herself. So how to handle these conflicts?
See, understand the reason behind the conflict. More often than not, the only reason is that everybody wants to be number two. Owner and 10 people reporting to him, but everybody wants to be the first among equals. So who's the closest? Who's the right hand person? Going back to my Kirana Dukan example, who's the person where the owner will say ki ab tum dukan chalao, I have to go out. I'll go home and have lunch and come, or I'm going for a family wedding for 3 days, I'm not here. So who's that number two? In small enterprises, this conflict always starts with who's the closest to the owner,
Right.
which is the number two. So so the owner has to understand the root cause of it. Like you rightly said, it is always the ego, because this is where the ego comes in play. But then again, if the communication is there, that clearly you are earmarked somebody as number two, rightly or wrongly. Some people obviously, if I am the number three and not number two, and you are number two, I'll always believe that, mere pe ye ho gaya hai. It's unfair on me. I should have been, I'm a better, more qualified to be number two. You are not. I'll always feel that. Very rarely I'll say, correct. Anand has been rightly appointed as the heir apparent. I will never say that.
Right.
So it's always this ego clash of who is the next in line. And it is the nitty-gritties of, usne ye kiya, maine ye kiya, that is noise. You have to ignore that noise and go get into why somebody is saying this rather than what somebody said.
Absolutely. And it is about completing that task efficiently when it comes to all of these business activities.
Correct.
So handling conflict also has to actually result into the outcome for the business, where जो काम पूरा हुआ वो अच्छा हुआ या नहीं हुआ is also very important.
Correct. So like I said, the owner has to take that call, and in a small enterprise it's easier for the owner to take the call. If you don't feel nice, kal se mat aana. There is no notice period, handover, laptop de do, all that part. It's a small enterprise. So those decisions, now it's unfair on the employee also. So it's may not be correct, good practices, etc., etc. But from a practicality perspective, it's easier कि कल से आ जाओ and easier से कल से मत आ जाओ. Both entry and exit are much more easier in a small enterprise than in a corporate, and therefore the owner is in a much better, I would say, better armed to take these decisions,
right,
which he believes are in the best interest of his business.
Moving on to another area, we spoke about conflict, or we spoke about competition. There is another area which is important, and in corporate setting it comes out as rewards and recognition. In small business, a small appreciation also matters. How should one practice this art of appreciating, and how does it help?
In a small enterprise, unfortunately, one has not seen many such things that are happening. The reality of the situation is कि boss ने झाड़ा नहीं
is an
appreciation. He didn't criticize, he didn't scold, itself becomes an appreciation. Very rarely you will see कि oh okay, बहुत अच्छा काम किया, चलो आधा दिन छुट्टी ले लो. These HR practices, if I can call them, do not exist. And to be fair to the owner, the owners, the business can't afford these practices. Because normally, in a corporate world, you will say reward and recognition need not always be monetary. There will be non-monetary kind of thing. In small enterprise, what matters is monetary. And the business always need not, because the owner thinks ki, I've hired these people, they've done what their job is. Now, to slightly aside, but since you mentioned reward and recognition, we always talk of performance-based payment. But what is that performance? Is the same actually, in a way, that is the same performance for which I've been hired for.
Yes.
Sales people get sales incentive. Why have I been hired as a salesperson? To sell. I've been given a target. So if I do 90% of the target, should I get an incentive? One theory is, why should I? You've been hired for that. You get salary for that. Unless your salary is so low and you get only a variable pay kind of thing. Here, the owners, again, I'm not justifying the owner, but just to be fair to that thought process, the owner's thought process is, I have hired these people to do this job. If I'm running a shop, I have a large 5,000 square feet sari shop, I have 20 people displaying and showing those saris, etc. तुम्हारा काम ही है वो करना. So if you do well and a family comes to buy one sari and takes away 4 saris, sometimes I will see it, sometimes there will be a system कि when I pack the sari there will be a small label and put my number. मुझे दिया गया है 15 नंबर, तो I put a 15 number there and somewhere somebody is looking at कि आज दिन में कितना सेल हुआ और 15 नंबर वाला कितना सेल हुआ, 12 नंबर वाला कितना सेल हुआ.
बिल्कुल.
It's that. If I'm running a restaurant, I'll have waiters, I'll have servers, I have cooks, I have staff, kind of thing. Now, there are 2 ways of looking at it. That tip goes to you or tip comes in a pool, which is reward and recognition in a way.
Yes.
It's reward directly from your customer. So, there are restaurants where the tip is pooled and distributed again based on the owner's view. Because the cook will never get a cook, but the fact that I have given a tip or a large tip is not necessarily only for the service, because I have loved the food to start with. Food is bad, service is great, I will not leave a tip. So tip is taken and received by the server who has very little role, important but little role, because if the food is not good, there will be no tip. If the food is okay but the service is good, yeah, but the food has to be good. ये तो wrapping है ना, gift wrapping है. The content has to be good.
Right.
So if I say tip is only to the server, what about my cooks? They are preparing the basic food in a restaurant. I have 20 people, I have 30 people, I have 10 people. Chota restaurant hai, I'll have 3-4 people. I'll have a tambi who's just mopping the floor.
Yeah.
Shouldn't he or get a tip? Why not?
Yeah.
That reward and recognition concept doesn't exist, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which needs to improve.
Yeah, which needs to improve, and that actually keeps the team's morale high. So the team has to at times come together, just to also acknowledge each other, saying that har ek ka kaam.
But sorry to interrupt, but let me also say that the same owners, when it comes to any stress, when it comes to any issue, they'll go out of their way to help their long-serving employees.
Yes.
And this is where sometimes policy framework, etc., doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because in a larger organization, HR policy will say that you can do so much for that level of employee and nothing more. In an enterprise, it is all up to the owner.
Yeah.
If I see something, there's a family issue, some death, accident, etc., and I see this in even mid-sized companies, the owners will go out of their way. Even if the HR, if there's an HR person and there's a HR policy, it is owner driven, and therefore they will not look at things and they'll go out of their way and do financial assistance, which will be like 3-4 times the annual salary of the employee. And I'm not even talking of COVID, etc. I'm talking of normal cases.
Yes.
Medical cases normally, emergency, accident, death, etc. These owners, same owners, who will not even give a shabashi as a reward and recognition kind of thing. They'll give, if that person's salary is 10,000, they'll give him 3 lakh rupees as a financial assistance. In corporate terms, we'll call it soft loan. With a view that sometime in life that loan will come back.
Right.
There's no interest, there is no hisab kitab, but as and when, and then the employees will also kind of reciprocate, definitely. Yes. So both things work. This R&R thing that we all think, like I said, is in a non-monetary, even a shabashi, may not happen. Not got scolded, not got criticized itself is shabashi.
Is a reward.
But when such things happen, the same person you will not believe ki, the same person is helping, going out of the way and helping me in my distress.
Absolutely. So Advait, to change a little bit of direction of the conversation and moving on to resource optimization in a small business. So you have people, you have talent. How do you optimize in a small business?
See, as a small enterprise owner, the optimization, in my view, is inherently always there. Because if I need 5 people, I will hire 4. That mindset is already there.
Yeah.
In a corporate, it doesn't work that way, because we talk of bench strength and contingency plan and kind of thing. That if I need 3 people, I need to have 5, because one person will always be on leave. I have to have that leave. He'll have a leave calendar. All those things don't matter to me as a small enterprise owner.
Right.
So if I need 5 people, I'll hire 4. So the optimization part is already there, which also means that the people get more responsibility, hopefully accountability,
Right.
and more work to do.
Right.
So not necessarily they are stressed.
Right.
Because even in corporate, if you actually put your hand to heart and say that, okay, you're supposed to work 8 hours, how many people actually work for those 8 hours? You will find very few people raising their hands.
Yes.
So that optimization inherently is there, because I'm a business owner, I'm starting up, just set up a shop or a studio or a restaurant or whatever business we talked about, or I'm a lawyer and I have 2-3 assistants with me. I'm a doctor, I have a consulting, and I have a couple of receptionists and couple of people with me. If I will always think that, do I really need this person right now, or should I wait for this trigger to happen? My business goes up to a certain level, or my customers, if I'm a restaurant, my waiting time is high, customers have started complaining, or I'm seeing that waiting time is high in a restaurant, for example, then I'll hire the 5th waiter, 4th server, 3rd captain, or whatever kind of thing. So I will never go that, as a restaurant I have 30 covers. 30 covers means 5 servers, 1 captain, 3 cooks. I will never go by those benchmarks, which consultants like me, for example, will give.
Right.
Because these benchmarks would come from a corporate environment in that kind of thing.
Right.
So if I'm just one restaurant with 30 covers or 10 covers, those benchmarks don't matter to me. I will have a gut feel, and I will say that if it is required, I will do that.
Right.
If I'm booming business, I will happily have that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because now, thankfully, this whole understanding and importance of customer and consumer and buyer is happening even at the small enterprise level.
Right.
It was always that I will do something, Puneri kind of thing, alatar alatna alatar uttam, that kind of thing. That no longer works, because people are serious about their business. Yes. There is competition everywhere, like you earlier mentioned, and therefore I have to. But competition does not mean I'll go bonkers.
Yeah.
Competition does not go, I will go big bang. I will still have that cost consciousness or resource consciousness. Optimization always there. Not just in terms of people, even in terms of the other kind of thing.
So in a way, resource optimization is pretty inherent when it comes to these.
That's my view from a small enterprise, nano entrepreneurs.
And technology has actually changed certain dimensions of these nano enterprises in last particularly 4 to 5 years. Small businesses are also heavily using technology for different things, and it is substituting certain tasks that human beings were doing earlier.
Sure.
Right. And now there are questions of team management, project management, and certain tools. So what are your suggestions? What tools should they use? Should they use tools? How should a owner look at it?
So there are 2 kinds of tools I would look at. One is what I call a front-end tool. So going ahead with that restaurant example, if it means that my servers or whatever need a PDA, where I can take orders rather than scribbling it on a piece of paper, or like Vaishali does, scribbling it on that tray, correct? So if it means that, because that makes sense, because it is Wi-Fi connected to my kitchen, a KOT gets generated directly, and therefore it helps in customer service better. I call this front-end technology, which affects customer service, customer sees it, etc., etc. Then I will do that. Again, continue the restaurant example. Thanks to COVID, even the smallest of restaurants will have a QR code kind of thing, and because COVID didn't allow us to have those, the physical menu cards, etc., etc. COVID has forced me to use technology. That's still a front-end technology. Many restaurants have continued with that technology. They have not gone back to physical menu cards, because one change in menu means printing, etc., etc. That is front-end technology. If there is a back-end technology for which, as a business owner, I may not immediately see an impact. So for example, since we're talking of team and team development, if there is a technology to do a team development within my team, but my team is what? My team is 8, 10, 12 people. Do I really need a technology? I mean, forget technology. All of us are on WhatsApp. As a business owner, do I have a WhatsApp group of my people? Not many people will have it. So if I don't even have a WhatsApp group to communicate to each other, and if that happens, then generally it will be, Happy Ram Navami and that kind of thing, then I don't want that WhatsApp group. I don't need a technology there. But if I need from a normal khata book, if I need a tally or some equivalent of tally which is even more economical and budget friendly for me, yes, I will do that.
Right.
Have I started having a POS machine in my shop or in my retail enterprise? Yes, I will do that. Do I have now a QR code for accepting digital payments? That is the need of the hour. 90% of my payments now happen kind of thing. Then I will use that technology.
Yes.
Which again goes back to front end versus back end technology.
In all of this conversation, it is also equally important about looking at what kind of efficiency is it bringing, and that technology or digital world is not becoming a liability.
Correct.
And one more additional work to use.
True.
So there one has to be very mindful.
So one is going with technology for technology's sake, or going with technology for business sake.
Right.
If I see business sake, like a POS machine, the QR code, etc., the PDA,
then it's
kind of thing, then it makes sense. Then I will invest in a tally or that kind of thing also.
Yeah.
But just because somebody else is using it and kind of thing, or I see on social media a lot of reels, AI aa raha hai, but does it really affect me?
Right.
There are enough and more businesses where AI, at least in the medium term, is not going to affect you.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't know whether it is going to affect you, talk to somebody. There are a large number of people within your friend and family.
And again, we go back to talking.
Correct.
Again, we go back to
talking. Correct.
Learning about it, understanding it. So all of these tools, may it be Slack, may it be any other project management software, what is it going to do for me?
Correct.
Is what one can understand and then mindfully.
If I am a firm of architects, again maybe 10 people, do I need a project management software for my client kind of thing? May not be. If it is again front end, that if I don't use it, I'm not going to get a certain kind of clients, then that becomes a business imperative for me.
Yeah.
Then I should use even a simple thing like an Excel or a Gantt chart or a MSP or that kind of thing. But if it is not required, chota team hai, I'm talking to people, I'm in control of all the 6-7 clients that I have, then I'm not required.
Correct.
Client facing, if I have to just impress the client, I go with a tab kind of thing. See, now for example, technology which is business technology.
Yes.
For my architecture firm, if I'm not using the latest CAD or drawing kind of softwares, and I'm still going with that blueprint kind of thing, I will run out of business.
Right.
If I'm using tab to show the drawings, to show rendering, etc., to my clients, that is technology. Then as an owner, it is an imperative for me. It is a necessity for me, without which I can't do business.
Right. Right.
But do I need a project management software? May not be right now. Do I need a Slack to just to communicate with team members? May not be right now.
Right.
So be very clear. Technology is for you. You are not for technology.
Absolutely. Moving to another area, a completely new but important area when it comes to managing teams, which is satisfaction at work and pay. Two very important areas.
Okay.
Discussed all the time, right? And how to manage satisfaction or a team culture within a small business.
The misconception is that if I pay more, people generally will be happy. One is, as a small enterprise, I will not have the, even if I have the, I want to, I may not have the financial bandwidth to pay more. So one is not in question of questioning anybody's market value or market potential. This is what I can afford at this point in time, whether you want to take this job or no. That is the starting point for that. So that is one. Even if I can afford and I'm actually paying more, there is nothing called enough salary for anybody, for you and me also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without naming, because this is a public broadcast, without naming the company, there is a large company where the hiring philosophy is 1, 2, 3, which means you hire one person, pay him double the salary, and make that person work 3 times of 3 people, kind of thing. Yeah, some people will know which company I'm talking of. Now, that can't be in a small enterprise. I can't afford that triple salary or double salary or whatever kind of thing. So, even in that company, people will never believe that even if they are paying double the market value, there will be some people will say, कि अरे और चाहिए, increment मिलना है क्या, मिलना चाहिए. So, there is nothing called enough when it comes to compensation. So, let's accept that. So then it's a question of what more can you give? Then that's where the point that you mentioned is the culture. Even if I have a small team of 8-10 people, is it, and it is a family owned and managed. Family means me. I may not have other family members, but is a owner driven and managed. Can I still have a family culture in my organization?
Yes, yes.
And that's where the thing that we discussed some time back, that can I ensure that these people trust the owner?
Yes.
As an owner, can they trust me? That should I have an issue, the same person who scolds us every day is going to go out of the way to help me.
Yeah.
Help my kids or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah, and there are different kinds of growth. When we talk about such things, it's about taking care of the employee's family at times, understanding aspirations, understanding growth that they want in general. So lots of things that an employee expects. So
Correct.
Taking care of them.
Correct. But now, unfortunately, for whatever reasons, if your business is not growing, then whatever you do in terms of culture, family, etc., people are not going to know. Because at best, if you have 10 people, your first 1 or 2 people at best will join you because they know you, they believe in you, etc. For the others, it's just another job.
Yeah.
And like we discussed earlier, for 1 or 2 people, it is not just another job, it is a job that's the only job I got.
Yeah. And therefore, to motivate an employee, the growth of the business
is absolutely critical.
Absolutely
Correct.
important.
Correct.
So if you are not growing, in a way you are stopping. In a way, it's like
correct.
So growth is very important.
Yeah, and again, when we say growth, again, business owners think, no, how can I share my financials, etc. But you need not share your financials. You are a private enterprise, sole proprietorship or whatever, etc. But people know now. If I'm a manufacturing unit in Bhosri somewhere, I know that, okay, I used to do this, now I'm doing double the activity. Or last year, say, abhi dhanda, no, I'm doing more activity. In my 8-hour shift, I used to work for 6 hours or 4 hours, 5 hours, now I'm doing 7 hours. Occasionally, I'm getting overtime. So without knowing the numbers, one more rule of life is everybody knows everything. So without knowing the numbers, they'll know कि धंधा अच्छा चल रहा है. So if you come back saying that, we are not done well and if I can't give you increment, it will not fly.
Yeah, and in the small organizations, small business, you're
Correct.
always being kind of watched.
Correct.
People know everything.
It's like, salary is the best kept secret, they say, right? Because everybody knows everything.
Absolutely.
In large companies, senior management salary by law has to be put in your annual report in a publicly listed company.
Yeah.
So right from there, generally people are aware.
So what is one mistake that many a times these small business owners do while managing their teams?
They assume, like I said, they assume that people don't know. They try to hide things. Especially in a small team. See, there is a formal communication, we said talk communication. And in every organization, including a small enterprise, there will always be an informal communication, which we call gossip. These same people, when they sit for lunch or go out for a tea or go out for a cigarette, etc., they're going to talk.
Yes.
And what do they talk? They're not going to talk shop and customer and production issue or this and that. They're going to talk of these things that matter to their life.
Right.
I'm not saying, see, I always say be transparent. It does not mean you put up your salary sheet on your notice board. But be as fair, as honest and as transparent as possible.
Right.
In your own business, if you are serious about growing your business. Yeah. And as an enterprise owner, as a small nano entrepreneur, I have to be, my entire focus has to be growing the business. And if I can't do this with 7, 8, 10 people of being fair and honest and transparent, then I will never be able to grow that business beyond a certain point in time.
Yeah. And I feel this is where exactly the role of a mentor for the business owner actually comes in picture, where you have that one place, where you can open up, where you can have that communication, track the path, whether you're doing the right things for your employees, your HR processes, whatever processes you are setting up. And a regular conversation with that mentor can definitely
correct. But the unfortunate part, and I have large number of CA friends who are not going to like what I'm going to say, but for most of these people, their mentor is their CA.
Is their CA.
Somebody who's doing the books. And unfortunately, CAs also start behaving like mentors. And they trespass areas of their expertise. CA, of course, from day one, right from company formation or the legal entity formation, that person is with you, etc. But if you have non-financial and accounting related challenges, that person need not be the the go-to person for everything under the sun.
Yeah.
And that is where business owners should understand that there are organizations like deAsra who will make people available from in different areas of expertise,
Right.
to mentor, coach, guide, talk to them, not just their own CA.
Absolutely.
Even when these people grow big and then they say, then they go for, that now I'm in a position where I want to go to a bank to get a loan, etc., etc.
Right.
It's the same CA. But the CA again is not a merchant banker. Some CAs could help there. Not all CAs would help there.
Can. And like we spoke about deAsra Foundation or certain, transformation processes that, are carried out. There are networks, there are people who are coming together for business. There are some social organizations. So participating in such networking places can also increase, lot of connects.
You've hit the nail. Networking is again a very, very important kind of trait a business owner should have, which is very, very undervalued and underestimated. And you can have organizations that help you network.
Yeah.
Or on your own, you can form a peer network.
Yes.
Yeah. If I'm a restaurant, am I speaking to other people? Need not be other restaurants. But if I'm a restaurant, then I'm physically in a place. Am I well networked with 3-4 shops this side and 3-4 shops that side?
Absolutely.
Because there's so much to learn from each other.
Yeah.
And they are non-compete, so there's no problem there.
Yeah.
But beyond managing, the survival instincts that I need to have and the mechanisms I need to have to ensure that I can run my business smoothly on a high street, can I learn from each other? The peer networking part is very, very important,
Right.
which in my view is very, very undervalued and underestimated.
Underestimated. So,
अरे वो तो इलेक्ट्रिकल शॉप चला रहा है, मैं क्या सीखूं, मैं तो रेस्टोरेंट चला रहा हूँ. But he's also a business person
there is something you
with
can-
5-6 people. You are also a business person with maybe 10 people.
Yeah.
He can learn from you, you can learn from him.
Absolutely. Right. And along with that, what are those different domains that you can look at, and for accounting, what can I use? For customers and customer management, what can I use?
True.
Particularly for HR or team management.
You just need to crawl the internet very, very intelligently.
Yeah. And basic tools as simple as WhatsApp. You mentioned about WhatsApp group, maybe a team group.
Correct.
Building that communication on WhatsApp.
Correct. But I don't need Teams, I don't need Microsoft Teams for my small enterprise, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't use it.
Use it mindfully.
Use it mindfully. If it is free, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But you'll use the tool,
Yeah.
But are people using it is different. You'll buy the tool or you'll download the tool, but are people using it is more important.
Absolutely.
Because again, going back to what I had said earlier, tool is for you, you're not for the tool.
For the tool.
So as long as you are clear, and therefore I give that example that as long as these tools are helping me directly in my business, even the smallest of enterprise owner will use it because he or she will realize the business impact it has.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it is business impact, sometimes it is business imperative. That if I don't use it, I will not get this client.
Right.
Maybe 20 years ago, a lot of manufacturing companies put up boards that we are an ISO 9000 certified company. They used to proclaim, put on website. Why? Because it was necessary, a business imperative at that point in time. Because unless I'm ISO, I can't export.
Yeah.
How many times now you see that they put up these boards? Now it is, hygiene.
Yeah.
So if that was an imperative 20 years ago, it could be some other imperative for you, like the architecture or interior designer kind of example. If I don't use these tools, I will be out of business.
Right.
Because I'll be considered old school.
Yeah.
I can't go with those, like I said, the blue ammonia print drawings today.
Yeah.
Nobody uses that.
Absolutely. So being with time is very important. Connecting with your team constantly is very important. And as we move towards the end of this discussion, I'm going back to the traditional way of gaining knowledge. Everybody, or not everybody today, less number of people like reading books, and it's important to read books. But what is that one book probably that you will recommend to our business owners?
Things like Good to Great kind of books, which are very, very, but again, they are still entrepreneurial driven. But it's not bad read for even a small enterprise owner because somewhere you want to reach that level.
Absolutely. So what I learned, Advait, is that it is important to keep growing.
Yes.
It is important to keep connecting with your team constantly.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, it's important to talk.
And learn.
And learn.
Yeah.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Advait, for this amazing discussion that we had on HR. HR at a corporate level, no. HR for
Yes.
a small business.
Yes.
And we talked about delegation, we talked about teams, and I'm sure our entrepreneurs will definitely learn a lot from all of this. In the second section, we are moving towards a rapid fire round question.
God. Okay.
So let's see what your answers are for
But
that.
thank you. It has been enjoying talking to you.
So here are the rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you questions and you have to give a short answer.
Put me in a fix, but let me try.
Sure. So what is the best trait in a team member?
Being a team player.
What is the worst delegation mistake?
Like I mentioned, delegation is not abdication.
First role to delegate.
Things that you are clear you can't do.
Amazing. Most underrated team skill.
Communication,
Task you will never delegate.
your core strength.
Best team tool.
Talking.
One word delegation killer.
If I were in your place,
Team culture in one word.
how you behave.
Feedback, private or public?
Good feedback, both public and private. Bad feedback, definitely private.
Promote early or late?
Depends. No fixed rule there.
Best time for stand-ups, sync-ups?
As long as you have a fixed frequency and you have a discipline to meet that frequency, if it's daily, weekly, but follow what you have decided.
And one delegation mantra that you would like to give our entrepreneurs?
Don't look back over your shoulder.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Advait. It has been amazing interacting with you, and I'm sure we'll have more interactions with you as you go forward. And deAsra Foundation and the entire expert network, the mentor network that we have, has been amazing to help our entrepreneurs grow. Today was second episode for HR, and a third one will come up soon. deAsra Foundation and Yashasvi Udyojak is actually helping you grow big, and that's why we say dream big. So visit our website www.deasra.in. Also visit Yashasvi Udyojak's website. Look up for all our social channels, and don't forget to keep looking at our dream big pages. Thank you so much.